Here we go, brownies. Here we go. Here we go, brownies. Here we go. Yeah, this for my dogs from the east to the west side. You rockin' brown and orange with me, baby. Let's ride. Represent the land, let them know. Tell them, here we go, brownies. Here we go. Yeah, here we go.
Welcome in, everybody, to another episode of the Here We Go Brownies podcast. I'm Allie Heisong, coming at you live from Myrtle Beach, South Carolina, and joined with me, as always, out in beautiful Cleveland, Ohio, we've got Dustin. Dustin, what's going on? How are you?
Allie, I am sleep deprived. I had so much fun. This weekend was one for the record books. I thought I could run on caffeine and adrenaline by Saturday night. Age and youth were not to my advantage. And I crashed and woke up at noon on Sunday.
Oh my gosh.
Oh yeah, trust me. It was something. It was well, I mean, full disclosure, the Njoku softball game happened Friday or Saturday, right?
Yeah.
I had the event down in Canton, which is about an hour drive from Cleveland. It's not a short haul. It's an hour back. I got home at midnight, 12:30 in the morning. Then up at 8 o'clock, because what do? We tailgate before any Browns event. So I was down there tailgating with all of our friends, and then got there early so we could set up for the Here We Go Brownies booth and all that, and then do all that. And then, of course, there was an after party at the Barley House with all the guys going there. So by the time I got home, the 1 o'clock the next morning, understandably, you can imagine I was done, D-O-N-E, done, and said, this is for 21 and 23-year-olds out here, because this is too much. It's a lot. Well, I mean, Allie, you were 21 once. You could hang in the club and do it, and it's like now you're like, it's not the same scene, right? Like you move past that in life, and it's hard to hang.
Speak for yourself, Dustin.
Here it goes.
No, I'm just kidding. I'm a grandmother. I that's never been my scene.
No, you're not, because you're competitive. That makes you not a grandmother, by the way.
Well, I'm a competitive grandmother, but my point being is that's never been my scene necessarily. I can't hang. I don't hang. I'm not that cool, but my idea of going out is getting a nice dinner and maybe a couple of cocktails, and then go watch a game or something, and I'm in bed. Like that is how I go out. So no, I can't hang. So how long did it take you to recover?
Well, you know how this always is. It's what we do, right? Like the next day you're okay. By yesterday I was like crash. You know what I mean? Like, Sunday was okay. I slept in, and then Monday I was just dragging, right? I was dragging on Monday, because it's always the extra day that catches up with you.
Yeah.
Unfortunately.
Well,
So
glad to see you back in action, feeling a little bit better. Guys, gonna have a fun show for you tonight. We are going to talk, the mandatory minicamp, the somewhat drama surrounding that. Then later on in the program, we're going to bring on Bob Golic to the program. So be sure to stick around until about 8:20 when we welcome him on. So be sure to drop your comments if you have any questions or anything you want to run by Bob. But before we get into it, Dustin, let's give a quick shout out to our newest sponsor, True Fan Travel.
Yeah, True Fan Travel, guys. They are excited to be a part of the Browns as an official sponsor of away games. Browns fans, are you ready to take your fandom on the road? Join True Fan Travel, an official fan experience partner of the Cleveland Browns, and travel with other Browns fans like never before. Everything is taken care of. Flights, hotels, tailgate, game tickets, transportation, food, drinks, everything that's important to Browns fans. Each trip will also include an exclusive meet and greet with former Browns players. Visit truefantravel.com today to reserve your unlimited Browns travel package. And I know everybody's excited about that Vegas trip. Who doesn't want to go out in Vegas late September and take in Vegas, a little gambling, a little fun? You like to gamble, Allie. You like to put down a bet or two on roulette. So come out and join us out in Vegas. It's going to be a lot of fun. It's going to be a great time. And it's kind of cool that they're doing this for all these away games now. It really is. I mean, Browns fans traveled very well. So I think it was real smart for True Fan Travel to hitch their ladder to Browns fans groups and get in with all the fandom, and it is, because it really is. I mean, like I told you, I went to Seattle last year, and there was a tailgate of 5,000 Browns fans.
Yeah,
and
I believe
Seattle's about as far away from Cleveland, Ohio as you can get. So Browns fans travel very well, and I think it'll be an exciting time for you to go watch the Browns on the road this year.
Okay, let's talk Browns. Before we do it, if you're joining us and you're like, Allie, you look weird and you sound weird, you're not in your normal studio setup. It's because I'm not. I am down at the condo this week, and we're doing some renovation. So behind me, you can see I've got
the
tools
condo.
everywhere. I don't have my mic. I don't have my headphones, so bear with me. If there's any audio issues or you hear David drilling something in the background or a dog barking, we're doing our best. We are doing our best. And the only light, because I don't have anything in here, Dustin, like I got rid of all the furniture and as we, flooring and everything. So I have nothing in here. So I'm sitting in front of a window. So once the sun goes down, you may not even see me. So we're doing our best over here.
Here's my question. Did you get the hole taken care of in the floor where the flood happened? Is that done? Is that fixed?
Yes,
okay.
That is done and fixed. There's a light at the end of the tunnel, but don't you get me wrong. This is very stressful. So we're down here working before our upcoming travel. So if you hear, it's not the best audio, I do apologize. So let's talk.
You're good.
All right, cool. Let's talk Cleveland Browns. A little bit of drama surrounding the mandatory minicamp as it pertains to Amari Cooper. He's in the last year of his contract, and he is holding out with hopes for an extension on his contract to remain with the Cleveland Browns. If you're going to look at this, I know that some people will say, what the heck? Why isn't he there? I hate this, blah, blah, blah. Even last week, we had the same conversation of, is there any concern for these players that aren't at minicamp? Now that it is mandatory, obviously there is concern for those that are not there. But if you're looking at this Amari Cooper situation, you have to look at it with some silver lining in the sense that he wants to stay in Cleveland, right? This is where he wants to be. He wants an extension, holding out to receive that from the team. And if I understand this front office, not that I do, but from their past and what they have done, they do take care of their players that want to be here. Nick Chubb being the prime example there, and Amari Cooper has been an incredibly productive and tough athlete for the Cleveland Browns. I wouldn't be surprised to see an extension come his way in the very near future. But Dustin, let's talk about this. What are your thoughts surrounding the Amari Cooper situation?
Well, I saw Amari Cooper. He was at the celebrity softball game in good spirits with all of his teammates. I think you bring up a valid point. I don't think he wants to go anywhere. I just think he wants to get his worth, right? At the end of the day, I think he looks at what Jerry Jeudy got, a guy on it coming to the team that hasn't technically shown his worth yet, right? He sees deals like Justin Jefferson out there and the deal that he got, and he probably thinks he deserves somewhere in the middle of that, right? At the end of the day. So, I put out there on our page, like, what do you think? What do you think Amari Cooper's worth? Do you think he's worth a 2-year deal? A 3-year deal? What does that look like? I think that's where the Browns will land, is a 2 or 3 year deal. Obviously, he's in his final year, so maybe they pick up an additional year, maybe 3, with some incentives. But at the end of the day, he's an elite route runner. He's a big, important piece to this Cleveland Browns offense. Deshaun Watson was asked about it at press availability. He made the comment, he's my guy. He's just taking care of what he's got to do. Personally, I hope this gets all resolved this week, and it's just a footnote in the history of the Cleveland Browns, and somebody just wanted a little extra money. That's just me. I believe it. Didn't Clowney do something similar to this and not show up for the Browns? Yeah. So at the end of the day, I think he'll get paid. I just don't know what that amount will be, but I think Andrew Berry's smart and realizes there's some worth here, and he wants to get paid. I am. Look, he's done nothing but be more than we even thought we'd get out of him since he's become a Cleveland Brown. So, and yeah, that's my take.
Yeah, he's been nothing but productive for this team. He has been a safety net. He has been a consistent piece offensively. He's been a go-to guy for the 52 quarterbacks that the Browns started last year. He has been a key piece to the heartbeat of this offense. So I would not be surprised. I would not be surprised at all to see this get resolved just here in the next few weeks, if it even takes that long. I would even say coming days, really. But what do you think he's worth, Dustin? Do you think a 2-year deal, 1-year extension, even a 3-year? Now, I will say this. You look at some of these other contracts. You mentioned Justin Jefferson. He is that is out of the realm of possibilities. You don't want that. That is not who this player is. He's not worth that. It's look, I like Amari, but that would be insane. Right in the middle is a sweet spot.
What's his current salary per year, Allie? I'm just curious.
Ooh, Amari.
Yeah,
Let me pull that up real quick.
and he's on the last year of his contract.
He's on the last year of his contract. Yeah, so it was he will make $20 million this season. So he's on the last of his 5-year deal. It was a $100 million deal that he signed.
Yeah,
Excuse me, that was with Dallas. So hang on, let me pull this all the way up.
Yeah, because I know they restructured his contract when he came to Cleveland, I think.
Let's see here. Cooper is entering the final year of his contract that he signed with the Dallas Cowboys in 2020, which was a 5-year, $100 million deal that ended up prompting the Cowboys to move him ultimately. So yes, he is in the last year of that contract.
Pay him 2 years, $25 million. Give him an extra $5 million a year. I think he's worth it. Because again, he's our safety net at the end of the day, right? I don't know what Tillman's going to be this year. I do have a sneaking suspicion. That's something that I'll bring up later in the show that I think is going to be interesting as we go through the season. But yeah, I think give him 25 million 2 years, 3 years. I mean, and I don't say 3 years because you don't know, if Tillman turns into this great player this year, right? Now you have some options, right? At wide receiver, he's on a rookie deal, and maybe you can move on after the year after next. But yeah, I don't know. I just say 2 years, 25 million. I think that's kind of in the realm. That's what I give him.
Yeah, I agree. And Xavier says should be right around here with a 2-year out. I agree with that. And I mean, if you look at the trajectory of this wide receiving room, previously on the show, we said, I have some concerns for the longevity of this receiver room based off of the contracts alone. A lot of these guys are in the last year of their deal. Amari Cooper being one of them, Elijah Moore, the list goes on. And then you've got a lot of young guys that are just unproven. So,
right.
It kind of gets in a really awkward place. So I think we have to have the conversation of extensions. 1-2 year deals appropriate for Amari Cooper. We'll see on Elijah Moore and what that looks like. And of course, they did just do the whole Jerry Jeudy thing. So now, personally, I'm more optimistic with it, but I think if we can get Amari for another 2 years, I'll feel pretty good about this receiving room going into the future.
I agree with
that. How about did you catch any of this Aaron Rodgers situation?
No, I did not.
So he's also holding out, or not necessarily holding out. He's just not showing up to minicamp. And the reasoning behind it, according to Diana Rossini, she said that Aaron Rodgers is skipping all of Jets mandatory minicamp, not just like today, but like all of Jets mandatory minicamp this week, because he prefers to be somewhere else away from football. That's his choice.
Well, I mean, he's going to get fined from the team, right, for every day he's missing. But he's also a future first ballot Hall of Famer. And we've talked about how much practice and preseason games are really needed because of the injury, right? We've talked about that. How much of these guys need the practice, don't need the practice. Rookies, obviously different. They need more reps. But, at the end of the day, do I think Rodgers will come out and play just like Aaron Rodgers does? Yes. I think he just doesn't want the wear and tear on his body. At the end of the day, I don't even think it has anything to do about not being around football. I don't think he wants to go out there and take a risk, right? He's got a decent amount of money he can earn this year. I don't think he wants to take the risk. That's what in his mind. Like, why go out there?
It's weird that he prefers to be somewhere else away from football, away from the team. Like look, if this was, imagine, and this is Deshaun Watson, right? Kind of. Or, let's just play a game where Amari Cooper, Aaron Rodgers was the quarterback for the Cleveland Browns. They made the same trade that they made for Deshaun Watson, but they end up getting Aaron Rodgers, and then he pulls this when he doesn't want to be there. He wants to be away from football. And given some of the other controversy, like as a fan, how would you react to that?
I don't know if I'd react too much because he's going to be there, right?
I hate it. I would hate it personally. Like, especially in the limelight, it's highlighted, it's all over, it's a talking point. Like, just like I hate it when there's anything surrounding Deshaun Watson or really any negative aspect of any player on the team when it is making national headlines. I want nothing to do with it.
Well, let's put it in this perspective. Would I be mad if it was Deshaun Watson? Yes, because he needs those reps and those repetition because he's rusty. when I look at Aaron Rodgers, I feel like he can come off the couch. Does that make sense? Like he's kind of like Joe Flacco. Like the guy is a veteran. He's won the Super Bowl. Like the guy can come in and do it. That's just where I'm coming from. But as your teammates and you look around the room, like where's not our leader, that there could be some internal stuff from the players. Like, hey, we all have to be here. You're our leader. I'd be more worried about that, what my teammates thought of me, right? And what the camaraderie and the culture would be in the locker room. Yeah, that's where I would come from more. Like, look, do your players, are they all cool with you not being here? And they all know ahead of time, hey, by the way, guys, I'm your guy, but I'm checking out for this week. I don't know. Like, is that conversation happen? That's where my mind goes, because football culture is such a tight knit group and it's such a brotherhood. I know that's just
Well, that's exactly what I mean. I wouldn't be mad because I'm saying, oh my God, he's missing out on these reps. I don't,
right.
You're a professional quarterback. Like you're Aaron Rodgers. You'll figure it out. The talent has never been the issue. But when it pertains to the culture and the fit and the chatter and everything else and the chemistry of the team, it really does matter. It really, really matters. And you look at these Tom Brady-led New England teams, and obviously you look at Tom Brady, the quarterback, and all of the talent that he had and who he was and the leader that he was. But you also look at those teams as a whole and the chemistry that they had. Also, another just strong point for those teams. And I think that when you're Aaron Rodgers and the New York Jets, you don't have that. You don't have that foundation where you can take a couple of days off, right? Where you're not going to get blamed for things or have the shed in more of a negative light.
Well, and maybe he's being vetted for vice president.
Maybe that's it. He's getting his hands full politically.
Because that's been thrown out there, and he's not being political at all these days. Just kidding. We all know he is. But Allie, speaking of things at the softball game and all those things, did you see the bump that I got to see very close with Deshaun Watson and his tight end not calling off a routine pop-up? And of course, Mary Kay kind of went a little dramatic on it because it was like, no, it really wasn't that bad. It was like, like a snudge bump. It wasn't like they like collided and the world was ending, but he didn't hit he didn't swing the bat for obvious reasons, which makes sense. And he played the outfield, but yeah, it was fun though, Allie. I got to tell you, I think Travis Kelce is living a dream life. Can I just tell you that? Because the guy walks in like at the 9th hour, walks in. I got to go out with him to the field, and then he just wins the home run derby. He beats Kareem Hunt for the home run derby with 11 home runs. I mean, this guy is living his best life. I could not orchestrate a better life for a guy out there than Travis Kelce to come home, win the home run derby after you're invited by Njoku 4 days before. So it's it's crazy, but it was crazy. He's a local Cleveland guy, and he came back and he was excited to do that. But it was, I tell you, what was really impressive about the Njoku softball. By the way, Allie, it was a sellout, a complete sellout for the softball game, which was super cool. And what was interesting is, I do really think this team has a camaraderie and culture, like you said. There is really that brotherhood. They really have each other's back, and I think just like we saw last year, this team was tight. They were in it. I really feel like this team still has that feeling, like they're looking out for each other. And that's something we haven't seen here for a while. And by the way, now you have two coaches, or a coach and a GM, that have gotten contract extensions for the first time since the mid 80s, when our next guest, Bob Golic, is going to join us during his playing days. But it's crazy to think that for the first time in a long time, this organization has stability.
Yep. It really is. So let's talk about it here in just a moment. Before we bring our next guest on, quick shout out to our friends over at Stadium Mustard. If you don't have Stadium Mustard in your kitchen this season, you are doing it wrong. The iconic brand, the iconic taste, beloved from ballparks to backyards and everywhere in between. Stadium Mustard is a smooth brown mustard rich in both taste and tradition. And by the way, it's loved by millions. So be sure to head on over to stadiummustard.com to shop now. We're going to bring Bob Golic onto the program. Before we do so, this interview is brought to you by our friends at Lorello Vineyards.
Here we go, Brownies. Here we go. Woof, woof.
Hello, welcome to Lorello Vineyards. Larry and Kim Lorello. We have a beautiful Here We Go Brownies wine that we would like to offer to you this season as we did last season. We have several other award-winning wines, lovely entertainment and events coming this summer. So come and see us, wine a bit, you'll feel better.
Yeah, we're looking forward to seeing you at the Muni lot this fall. Go Browns.
All right, and let's bring him on. Bob Golic to the program. Bob, how are you? Thanks for taking the time for us.
I love whining.
Whining.
I whine all the time.
Well, as I say, don't you whine 4 hours a day on your radio show?
No, the people that call me whine 4 hours a day on the radio show.
That's fair. That's fair. You get them to whine at you. That's a good point.
Yeah, exactly. How you guys?
We're good.
We're doing great. Thanks for taking the time for us. Really appreciate it.
No problem. Just coming off of work. No, I don't need dinner or anything like that. I mean, come on.
You know, Bob, I have to tell you. So your biggest fan is watching the show tonight, and that is my dad, Troy Heisong. My dad watches my show every week, but I don't think he's ever been as excited as he was today when I told him that you were coming on the show.
Really?
He's been texting me. He listens to you every day, but he's been texting me all day. He texts me this. He says, "What time is Bob scheduled to come on the show? He's working right now. He doesn't get done until 7." I said, 8:20. So he is so pumped up. My dad is so excited.
What's your dad's first name?
Troy.
Troy?
Yep.
T-R-O. Hi, Troy. What's up, man? Go Browns. Thanks for listening to the radio show.
So more importantly, Allie, does Troy ever call into Bob's show? That's a good question.
No,
right?
he's not a caller. He's not a talker.
But he's an avid listener.
Oh, yeah, every day.
He's a P1, as Bob Golic and I would say. He's a P1.
He's all
it's easy to call me. I'm very nice to people unless they start yelling at me first.
I understand that.
Yeah.
But congratulations are in order, Bob. You were recently inducted into the National High School Hall of Fame. Let's get into that. That's really cool. I to be honest with you, I did not even know that this was really a thing that happened in Northeast Ohio. But looking into it, man, just a big group of guys that you got inducted with. So let's talk about it. What was that like for you?
Well, one of the reasons we didn't hear about it is because last year was the first year. And the people are from the Canton area that are setting it up, obviously the Hall of Fame background. But the National High School Football Hall of Fame is nationwide. They get guys from all over the place. It just so happens that Ohio's got better high school football than most people. So bragging. But yeah, they called me up and we went in the other night and they gave us these nice red jackets, which were sweet looking. I mean, those other ones, those other guys wear, they look like Century 21 jackets trying to sell houses. Whoever you want one of those.
I'm with you. I think
they do look like Century 21 jackets. Or you know what they also look like, Bob? They kind of look like the $1 million when you win the $1 million Publishers Clearinghouse when they come to tell you won $1 million. I think they're the same color as those.
I'll wear that. Sure. Yeah, so it was nice. It was a bunch of I couldn't believe all the people. Dexter Manley was there. Eric Dickerson, Nate Bertelson. I mean, I know I'm forgetting tons of guys. Eddie George. We're all there to get inducted, and it was probably about, I think it was like 29, 30 guys, something like that. Yeah. And when we all got up and gave our acceptance speech, some of these speeches got to be a little lengthy. So I think the whole thing went for like 3 hours. And the first thing I heard afterwards was, I think we're only going to pick like 15 to 20 people next year. So I figured keep the number of people coming in and won't have to sit there and listen to people whine so much.
Well, and put a limit on everybody, right? For like 10 minutes, that's your max. And then the next person has to talk. So everybody has the equal amount of time.
Yep.
So Bob, obviously you grew up in Northeast Ohio, right? I mean, you grew up in Northeast Ohio.
Yep.
You're a Cleveland guy. We talked a little bit about this, and we're going to debut our interview that we did. But talk about what it was like, to our Here We Go Brownies audience. For obviously, you started with the Patriots, and then you get this opportunity to come back home and play for your team that you rooted for as a kid, right? Like it's like you can
Yep.
almost pinch yourself. And what was that like to come back here? And of course, you ended up making your home here, like a lot of other former Browns players in your same era did, and
Yeah.
stayed here, and you made a career out of it. But just tell us what that was like to come back home and play for your hometown team.
I like how you put that. You had an opportunity to come back and play for the Browns. I got cut by the Patriots. That's the opportunity I had. I was a linebacker in college, and I was pretty good at it because we didn't do a lot of man-to-man coverage, but the Patriots wanted to do a lot of man-to-man coverage. And I'm a killer at zone, but man-to-man, I get a little problem with that. So after going into the 4th preseason, they let me go. And actually, some of the Browns called me and asked me if I wanted to play nose tackle. And of course, I'm thinking to myself, no. Why would anybody volunteer to do that? So, but I figured, you know what, I'll do it, and then maybe I'll be on the scout team. I'll play linebacker on the scout team. They'll see what an amazing linebacker I am, and it'll go back to normal. Life will continue normal like it did before. And once I got my hands got in the dirt, it never changed. It was rough. The thing was, Bill Davis was the guy that was player personnel guy. And I asked him why he contacted me and thought about nose tackle. And he goes, he'd lived in the area. He knew that I had wrestled in high school and in college. He knew that I loved playing football. And because of that, he just gave it a shot. He goes, it only cost me $100 to pick you up, claim you off the waiver wire. So I came in. He goes, and I'm glad it worked out. But he goes, playing nose tackles like wrestling. It's balance, it's leverage, it's all these things they have to do on the inside. Although in wrestling, we never have to deal with double teams with Mike Webster. So that one was a kind of a surprise.
So it kind of leads into this question from George here. What it is, who was the toughest guy that you went against?
Mike Webster.
Yep. I believe that.
Yeah. No, let me think. No, Mike Webster. He was, we were different back then. I was about 275, 280. Mike was about 265, 270. And Mike was one of those guys that had massive, massive arms, worked out all the time. And this is just a coincidence. It's, as a side note, back then they didn't really check for PEDs, performance enhancing. But it has nothing to do with Mike and the rest of the Steeler offensive line. But he was so fast, and my job was to line straight up on the center, and whatever way he goes, I've got to beat him there, and I've got to get to that gap. And then if they cut back, I've got to throw him back and go back to the other side of the gap. And so it basically turned out to be like wrestling, except for, like I said, those trap blocks, double teams, and then Clay Matthews or Kuzno hit me in the back, trying to help me with the tackle. That was all new too. So, but it was so satisfying.
Was it a hard transition to go from linebacker and the experience that you had, playing off the ball, to then getting into, hands in the dirt, line of scrimmage? Was it a difficult transition, a big learning curve for you?
In high school, I was here in Ohio. I was like AP All-Ohio linebacker, but I was UPI All-Ohio offensive guard. Mm-hmm. And so I was used to working down in the dirt. When I was at Notre Dame, probably about maybe 20% of the time, they moved me from middle linebacker. They would move me up into the line. So I had a little bit of experience there. It was more hit the gap type thing. It wasn't this 2-gap thing, which the Browns wanted me to do. So I don't know. When I got in there, actually I was about 240 when they picked me up. And right after that, a couple days after that, they were going to their last preseason game, which against the Raiders. And so I was 240 pounds. In preseason games, it's a rule that linemen have to wear knee braces. So they strapped knee braces on me. So here's this 240-pound guy with these massive knee braces on. I'm thinking, kind of feel like the Tin Man. And I line up against Dave Dalby and Gene Upshaw and go to the outside, and there's Henry Lawrence. It was a quick learn. That's for sure. But actually, it was a quick learn of what not to do.
Sure.
So here's a question. We talk about on our program quite a bit, Bob, that the NFL is not for long, right?
Yeah.
The average player plays for 3 or 4 years. You played for over a decade for 3 teams, obviously starting with the Patriots, and then your longest tenure was with the Browns, and then on to the Raiders.
Yeah.
But, what do you attribute that to? We've had Joe Thomas on, and he talked about his technique, the way he sets his foot, all that preparation and training that goes into playing to be game ready each and every game. What do you attribute yourself to being able to play in the NFL for 12 years?
Well, first off, you have to love. You really have to love playing. And a lot of guys will say, "I love playing," but they go out there and they play, do their job, and go home. But my dad taught me how to play and put me through all the stuff when I was young, and he told me one time. He said, "Bobby, if you ever stop loving this game, promise me you're going to walk away, because if you're not playing with all your heart behind you, you're not going to be doing anything for yourself or for your teammates." And of course, I was at the time like 12, and I said, "Sure, Dad, okay." But it always became a love of my life. It really and truly was. I was every time we got hurt, I didn't want to come off. And a lot of guys were like that back in the day too. You tweak your knee or get hit in the thigh, and you realize, oh God, I got a thigh contusion. This is going to be so stiff tomorrow, but if I keep moving, I'll be able to finish the game. Or my shoulder popped out. I remember one time with the Raiders, LaDainian Tomlinson cut back. I put my arm out, and he basically ripped my arm out of the joint. And I was laying on the ground, and Greg Townsend, our defensive end, came up, and he's looking down at me, and he said, "Wow, what's the matter?" I said, "My shoulder's out of joint." He goes, "I don't know what to do about it." I said, "Could you go find somebody who does?" So Trey came out, popped it back in. I had to come out for one play, but then I went back in and started playing. I broke my forearm against the Steelers in '86. I was working against Webster. The back cut back in, and I was kind of falling, and I swung my arm like a bat, just trying to trip him up. And I'm guessing at that point his knee made contact with my forearm, like mid shaft, and I thought it was, and it hurt like hell. But I thought it was like a bruise, but it hurt. It was so bad. So the series was over. I went off. I got some pads and I put them on my arm, and I taped it up. And so I went out for the next series, and I found that when I went out there, it still hurt, and I had no strength in my wrist. It's like I couldn't move it. So next time we went off, I taped my wrist so it would be stiff. And then it hurt to put my fingers down in my stance. So I taped these 2 fingers and these 2 fingers together.
Oh, wow.
Finally, right before halftime, I came out of my stance. Mark Malone was kind of moving out of the pocket. And as I came out of the as I came out of my stance and twisted my arm, I heard this pop, and it ended up being the bone. They say what happened when they did surgery on it. They said there was the two main bone fragments. There was about a dozen smaller fragments, and they said there was bone dust. I said, "What's bone dust?" And he goes, "You usually see that in when somebody gets hit by a car or something.
Yeah,
It just pulverizes the bone."
Yeah.
He goes, I'm guessing that the two main bone fragments were pressing against each other because your arm was in spasm. And so it was kind of, even though it was broken in half, it was holding itself for that moment. So I came off and I said, "I'm broken." They cut everything up, and they go like this with your arm, with your hand. And I went like that, and the bone started popping through the skin. And he goes, "Stop doing that." You just told me to do it.
You told me to do it.
Oh, yeah. Man. That's crazy. Bone dust. That's a good name for a rock band, but not good to just have.
Yeah, exactly.
So, Bob, every week on this podcast, we have what we call the medical minutes, and we have my fiance on, who is an orthopedic surgeon, also Notre Dame guy. He's not on tonight because he's actually remodeling a bathroom right now in our condo, but nonetheless,
he does it all. He's a Renaissance man. Wow.
I cannot wait to go in a little bit and ask him about bone dust and see what he has about that, because that's a new one. That is a new one for me. So he'd love this conversation. But I want to talk a little bit about the current Cleveland Browns right now, especially on the defensive side of the ball, Bob. Jim Schwartz came out and said that he knows that they are a fast-paced defense, but he wants to throw a couple of change-ups this year. What do you think that could look like? We know what this defense is. They're super athletic. They're fast. They're strong. JOK, he's all over the place. I've seen the videos of him. Do you think that they're going to come out with any other scheme or any wrinkles in this defense to differentiate them from where they were a year ago?
I think that they're probably going to move Miles around. Instead of just putting them on one side, they may overload one side or switch sides with them, or bring them down inside and move the tackles out. They've been spending so much time getting some defensive tackles who, like I said, I played at about 280, 285, and these guys are like 320. That would have been much easier. But these guys they're big, they're strong, and they're quick. And so I'm guessing these guys are going to be hitting gaps inside. They're probably going to do some twists and things where they're kind of trying to confuse the offensive linemen. So I think they'll try and mess around with the up front guys, so the offense is having a hard time of figuring out who they're supposed to block. I just think that I think one of the things they have to do, and I'm just a guy that has an opinion, but they've got I think everybody has to work on tackling, because you'll watch games these days, and when a guy's running, you'll see the defender come up and take a swat at the ball, and it'll hit the ball won't come out, and the guy will keep running. Technically, you're supposed to, if you're the first one there, you're supposed to make the tackle. The second guy can take a swat at the ball, but sometimes it seems like everybody's trying to force the fumble. Everybody wants to get they want to be the star. And, I understand that, but my dad told me, he goes, when you tackle, Bob, you put your head right between his numbers, wrap your arms around them, keep driving your legs, and he goes, with your hands, grab his jersey, grab his pants, grab his skin. It doesn't matter. Grab him and take him down to the ground. So that was, it was just kind of basic tackling. And I think if they stop trying to play knock the ball loose, I think they'll probably end some of these drives much quicker.
Yeah.
Question I have, Bob, obviously you have a illustrious career at Notre Dame. Obviously you had an amazing national championship, and we're a part of that there. And, being the most valuable defensive player of that, Do you get back to Notre Dame games much? It's about a 4-hour drive from Cleveland. Do you go
Yeah.
back and catch a game? And then my question is, I'm a huge Boise State guy. I'm from Boise State. I moved here recently. Boise State announced that they are going to play at Notre Dame next year. And can I partake in you having going to that game next October?
Well, coincidentally, we have great French fries at the Notre Dame, and they're made out of potatoes. So get it, Boise.
Well, that's important.
Sorry, that was a reach. I tried to get there. I actually was doing some pregame Brown stuff, and so it was tough for me to get out on Saturday and hurry back and do this. So, but now I'm not. So I'll probably go back for a number of the games. I hope. I just love going down there and watching these guys. It's fun. Boise, with all, and I'm glad you didn't say, hey, how's Notre Dame going to do? Because with these portals and all the stuff going on, I don't know who's going to end up where. It's almost like as the season goes on, who's going to be where. I feel bad for these rookie quarterbacks these young quarterbacks coming out of high school. They're looking more at some of these portal quarterbacks that have some experience and have played in college football already. So it's going to be tough to tell who they've got. It's getting to be like pro football.
It really is. It's like free agency. It really is like free agency with NIL money and the portal now. But we went to a couple of Notre Dame games last year. We were actually in Ireland. We did the Navy Notre Dame.
Oh, nice.
David, my fiance, he's also in the Navy. So that was a fun one to go to. And then we did Clemson as well, which was awesome because we live down here in South Carolina. So to go head over there, that was a lot of fun. It's just fun.
You're not going to put like decorative anchors in your bathroom or anything like that, right? Or little portholes.
Right now, he's just drilling a couple of holes and a couple of prayers. But
well, Bob, they do live on the ocean. I mean, it is an oceanfront condo. So maybe the sea.
There you go.
It's appropriate. But quick one from our friend Jason before we get you out of here, Bob. He has a non-football related question, and that is, of course, Saved by the Bell. A quick one on that. What was it like to be on a TV series? We've Dustin, this is the first. We've never had an actor on before. This is a new one.
That's true.
Yes, a thespian. That just sounds wrong. I loved it. When I finished playing ball, I knew I was going to be just so down. I was anticipating a depression like I hadn't seen before, and this was so different. In what I did getting this job, it was so different that it just kind of really distracted me from the football that season. And it was so much fun. We didn't do anything. We went in on a Monday and sat at a table and read through the script. Tuesday we went on the stage and read through the script. Wednesday we kind of did that again, but we moved around a little bit where we're going to be during each scene. Thursday was a long day because I had to get all the blocking and we have the cameras where they're going to be, because they weren't going to rely just on autofocus, so they had to be able to know where everything was. And then Friday was game day. We did at noon. We did a show without an audience, and then Friday night we had some dinner. Friday night we did the show again with an audience, and then we are off for the weekend. As we're leaving on Friday night, they hand you the script for next week, and I'd always sit there and look through it and going, "Wow, I'm not really in this next one. That sucks." But it was pretty funny. I had the opportunity at that time. I was up for two parts. One was Saved by the Bell, the college years. The other one, I had just auditioned with Mel Brooks for Robin Hood Men in Tights.
Oh, wow.
I was not sure about me and spandex. So I think I put more focus on the Saved by the Bell. Plus, there's not a person alive that doesn't think that Tiffany isn't a hottie.
Well, I was just gonna say. Also, Jason just said, Tiffany with the hard eyes. So that's true. She's the best.
I almost killed her on one scene. I had to break down their door to get into their room. And they said, just hit the door. It's on there, but you should be able to knock it down. So he hit the door. The door ripped off the hinges, flew through the air. Her bed in her dorm room was sitting basically right in front of the door. Door flies out. She dives off the bed just in time, and the door hits the mattress. And I'm like, we almost killed her. That would have been a whole different episode. So when we shot it, they put hinges on the bottom. So when I hit it, the door just went boop. Nobody could get hurt except me.
So Bob will get you out on this one. Where can people find you? Obviously, Troy Highsong knows where to find you every weekday, but where can people find you and listen to you?
Troy Highsong just texted me and said, tell everyone to tune into the Golic Show on WNIR 3 to 7. So
way to go, Troy. Thank you, man. Yeah, it's 100.1. Excuse me. Yeah, 100.1 WNIR, and we have a WNIR app. You can get that, or you can go to our website and listen to it there, whatever you want to do. So I'm on every day from 3 to 7, and on Saturdays I'm on from noon to 4.
You're in, as I call it, prime time drive time.
At prime time drive, and Saturdays just I hate it, but hey, I get to watch the cartoons in the morning before I have to go to work.
There you go. That's a win. Hey, Bob, thanks for joining us. This was great.
Anytime, a pleasure.
Hey, go Browns! Right. Thank you.
Go Browns!
That is Bob Golic. That was a lot of fun. Our first actor on the show. We got it all. He was great. That interview was brought to you by our friends over at Lorello Vineyards. That was a lot of fun.
Like I said, he talks for 4 hours a day. Easy to.
That's gonna be tough. That's gonna be so hard to do. I want to. You know what? Next time we have him on, I want to talk about that, because I will tell you this, guys. I don't know if anybody listening to this show has ever done any podcasting or talking at length. Talking for an hour, just an hour on this show is difficult. I've got my water here, try not to die sometimes and stay on track and, fill any dead air. It's really difficult. So going for 4 hours, that is, you know what that is? That's athletic. That's elite. I wouldn't be able, I don't know that I could do it.
Well,
that's
really cool. Here's the thing also, every day you do that 5 days a week. So you have to come up with content. And of course there's commercial breaks and all that. So it's more like probably 3 and some change, but still it's a lot of content that you have to take. And, obviously you can take callers in, but at the end of the day, you gotta have show prep, especially for that. You definitely have to have show prep for a show like that. And, he does news talk. So you also have to be kind of engaged with what's happening in the world and the news. Yeah. So it's like,
to do.
Mm-hmm. You have to have
some people. Yeah. Did this ever happen to you, Dustin, when you first started doing this podcast, where you're ultra confident, but then you get behind the screen, you get behind the camera, you get behind the microphone, that you clam up a little bit? Has that ever happened to you?
Well, boy, you always wonder if things come out years later that you don't know about. So you're going to learn something right now. I was nervous just to call in because I didn't want to screw up a call in back in the day. So full disclosure, I did not want to screw up my call in. And full disclosure, if I knew your family was watching this show the night that I came in as the guest host that first night, I think I would have been a wreck. Because I would have been like, like her dad's watching, like, I got to talk straight. I can't go I can't this, I can't that. Like I would have been a wreck. So yes, to your question, yes, I was of course nervous, because especially the first one, and then the second one, a little more comfortable. But yeah, I was kind of a wreck. Yeah. That's why sometimes the alcohol helps, level you out and bring you to the.
It does, yeah. But you know what? It's fun. I enjoy this so much because I've always said, give me a microphone, I can BS about anything for an hour. But when it's about the Cleveland Browns, you know, you can go on and on and on and on. And, you know, it's my one and only hobby pretty much. And then you know, we get to do this and have a lot of fun with it. And I'm just really, you know, proud of what the show has become with the segments and of course the interviews, because if you would have told me a couple of years ago that we would have Joe Thomas on, Bernie Kosar, Bob Golic, you know, Greg Pruitt, guys like that, and say you are
Clay Matthews. Clay Matthews.
I remember.
Oh, by the way, Clay Matthews after a playoff loss.
Yeah, that was crazy, by the way.
I mean, to think about that was insane to me. And to me, I still look back at that as like you and I and him both had to keep our emotions in check, because that, I mean, full disclosure, we talk about this all the time. It is hard to come on here after your Browns got their ass handed to them on a Sunday and come in and be like, all right, let's do a happy, cheery show. It is really hard to come in when you just want to scream and go, what the hell just happened, right? I mean, that's the truth. And we've come on and like, I know, Allie, we have come on, I think it was after the Jets game. You're like, you ready? Yeah, I'm ready. This is gonna be.
There's been a couple of times where like, are you kidding me? We have to do a show tonight. And
like I just want to crawl up. I just want to crawl up on the couch and like forget this and get to Tuesday, right? But I do want to say this. We didn't get a chance to mention this. And Allie, you started this show truly, you know, for the fans, by the fans, you know, or by the fans, for the fans, however you want to say that, right? And the reason we started this was for them. And I just have to say, and I know you feel the same way, we are truly humbled. You have a transplant kid, myself, to Cleveland, yourself that is transplanted out of Ohio and moved around. And the fact that our fans, because it was the fans that voted for us to be Cleveland's favorite sports podcast, kind of blows me away. I mean, I got to be honest, like, I would have been okay just being a finalist and said, hey, you know what? We get to play with everybody else. But I think it's an honor and a privilege that we get to do this every Wednesday night. And the fact that we got voted number one is just still to this day just blows my mind. And I just can't thank our listeners that give us the opportunity to do this every Wednesday night for them. It's been an honor and a privilege. So.
Yeah, I retweet. I agree. I mean, that is, it really is. It's an honor to be able to get behind the mic and the camera and talk to you guys every Wednesday. And as Jason said here, Wednesdays are good because during the season, that's when he's finally cooling down. So Wednesdays are the perfect day. And we've done that strategically.
To cool down or get ready for Sunday.
You know, first part of the pod, we'll talk about the woes or, you know, the excitement of the game, and then we'll have a little fun. And then, boom, we got you geared up for Sunday. But I agree. You know, absolutely humbled to receive that. Very honored. So thanks, everybody, for that. Dustin, why don't you tell our listeners about Teresa's Pizza?
Teresa's Pizza, guys, in Mayfield Heights and University Heights. It's been around since 1969 in Cleveland. They have amazing original family recipes. And if you're looking for that catering type of thing where you want to treat your family or treat the office, give them a call. They're great. They give catering discounts to folks. And they have a lunch special where you can get basically two slices of pizza and a drink for $8. But it's great pizza, Allie. When you get here to Cleveland, you got to try some of it. It's awesome pizza. And you'll understand it's got all the stuff on the bottom and the cheese on the top. So all the toppings are underneath. So it's cheese on top. So you get to really enjoy. And it's kind of what I call that thick, thin pizza Cleveland has. And you know what I'm talking about. It's not thin crust. It's not deep dish. Cleveland style pizza is kind of in the middle, right? It's kind of that middle crust. And it stays true to that tradition of Cleveland and Northeast Ohio pizza styles.
Yeah. Next couple of weeks, just, you know, to prepare everybody, I will be traveling. I'll be on the road. So you may not, I might be out for a couple of weeks, but just stay tuned on that. News to come. Be doing a lot of traveling. So I do apologize. If you catch me.
Ray Showdown is going to.
Yeah, you'll be seeing and hearing a lot of Ray. So just a quick heads up to everybody that I'll be out. But don't panic. I'll be back. I will be back. Also want to tell you about our friends over at the Hartville Marketplace and Flea Market. Let's start with the indoor shops. They've got makers, bakers, and more all year round. By the way, 3 acres of indoor shopping, over 50 unique shops. Indoors, they've got fresh produce, meat and cheese, antiques, treasures. And you can go there at any time of the year because it is fully heated and fully air conditioned. Now, if that's not your cup of tea, head on outside. By the way, they have been named one of the top 20 flea markets in the United States. And their outdoor flea market, which has been open for over 80 years, is over 12 acres of a collector's paradise. Whatever you need, they've got it. So be sure to head on over to Hartville to check out what they've got going on.
Well, Allie, I was going to tell you, you got to spend, a few weeks back, you went down there and did you checked out the flea market, right? You were wandering around down there. You and David were partaking in the compound, as I like to call it, of Hartville. Like it literally, you come like it's funny. You're just driving through, like you're on a 2-lane highway of road, houses, and then you turn the corner and it's like, here's this place out in the middle of literally nowhere, and it's called the Hartville Marketplace.
Yeah.
By the way, speaking of Hartville, there's gonna be some cool stuff. My birthday's coming up July 13th. David Njoku and Joel Batonio will be down there for some signings on July 13th. A lot of other Browns players will be down there in August as well for signings. So that'll be really cool. They've kind of really gotten a lot of those players to go down there and do those signings. And it's been kind of cool. Like it's kind of, you get everybody from the whole area, right? So you get people coming from Akron, Cleveland. Ends up kind of being a place where it's only, an hour away. So you can kind of partake in that. Yeah, it's fun. So
Yeah.
anything, Allie, here's a little fun. So I got to go on Hanford's podcast. I don't know if you're pretty much in the Twitter space and all that. Did you see by chance the wedding that James Harden went to?
I did.
And his girlfriend caught the bouquet, and the look on his face was of pure terror. And it made me think, this is why I don't like James Harden. because like, come on, you got to smile. You can't look like you're petrified. Because she was excited to catch it. Like, look, honey, I got the bouquet. And he's like, oh no, throw it away. Yeah, I don't know if you saw that. That went a little viral.
It did. Yeah. I mean, he knew cameras were on him, right? But don't you get me wrong. Like, if that happened, it'd be a war. It would be on. It would be absolutely on.
Yeah. In Allie, speaking of topics, I know you're a big basketball fan, big Cavs fan. Just to kind of end the show, I want your opinion on the whole Lakers thing. Him turning down the contract and going back to Connecticut, and kind of where the Lakers are and where the Cavs are, in this whole coaching search. What's your thoughts on that? I'm just curious.
Well, let's start with the Cavs. Having a real conversation with, what does the future look like for this team? Does it surround Donovan Mitchell? Is there an extension at play, or are they, going to look to trade? I think both trade and extension are both in play, which is such a weird place to be in when you're looking at a player and you can say, hey, which direction does this team go in? And it's a little bit of the LeBron effect, right? When you have a superstar that could either leave or get extended at any point in time. So you have a little bit of that turmoil. But, you look at the Lakers, I applaud Dan Hurley for going back to UConn. He had a great situation there. I think he's a brilliant head coach, and his play design he does with UConn. Clearly, they're a very good team. I think the Lakers do this every couple of years, right? Where they are good, and then, okay, what are we going to do? What are we going to do? And, that's another team that I don't really know what the future holds for them. Look, I'm not going to act like I'm an expert at Lakers basketball because I don't watch them that often. Well, obviously not now, it's over, but like this past season didn't catch a lot of them. But there's several teams in the NBA that I think one or two moves could define them for the next few years. And I think the Cavs are one of them.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And, we might as well, if we're just going around the league, our Cleveland Guardians continue to win. They're playing the Battle of Ohio against the Reds. Also, something went viral there. They had a streaker that went on the field, did a flip, and then he got tased. Yep. So I was like, I posted, hey, even a streaker can't keep the Guardians from winning. And by the way, if anybody is watching our show right now, the Guardians are up 2-1 in the bottom of the sixth down there in Cincinnati. So if they end up pulling this off, they're guaranteed to win another series. This team, Allie, is something fun. But I tell you, who scares the hell out of me? The Yankees. They just are. They look like a juggernaut. And of course, they got all the money. But Soto and and Judge. I mean, that's a gauntlet to go through. But I just hope we don't have to play them in the first round and somebody knocks them off, because the Yankees look scary, and they got the money to spend if they want to get scarier, which is unfortunate.
Which is terrifying.
But hey, we're in first place, and so it's good. And with that, I just jinxed the Guardians because the Reds just took a 4-2 lead on a 3-run home run.
Grip. With that, we're wrapping up the show. We can't do this. We can't do this anymore. No, seriously. Thanks everybody for tuning in. Great show tonight. A lot of fun talking to Bob Golic. Thanks everybody for tuning in. We appreciate it. Stay safe, stay healthy, and as always, Browns fans, go Browns.